It's the Elsa Kurt Show with Clay Novak. Serving up trending news and conservative views. Brought to you by the Elsa Kurt Collection. And Refuge Medical. And now, it's time for the show.
Hey there. Holy cow. We were just talking before we came on the air here, and we realized we have a lot of topics today. So I already told Clay, you are going to have to crack the whip here. Keep me focused. Keep it laser focused here, and he's going to do it, right?
Yeah, we're good. I mean, after, essentially a week off last week, I had some personal stuff going on, funeral for a very dear family friend, and just got caught up with a bunch of stuff. So happy to be back. And yeah, we got a lot to talk about. So no dilly-dally. Let's get started right after this. Hey folks, Clay Novak here, author of the novel Keep Moving, Keep Shooting. So what I've got here is the Boo Boo 2.0 basic first aid kit. This is the one that you throw in your glove box, throw in the trunk of your car, keep in the house. It's got your Band-Aids, antiseptic wipes, those kinds of things for scrapes and cuts. And some, more significant, there is a tourniquet in here. But Boo Boo 2.0, this is the kit that you need all the time. Again, refugemedical.com. You can find it there. Use the discount code KMKS at checkout. Get yourself 10% off. Refuge Medical. Not only buy their equipment, but get their training. Refuge Medical offers training as well.
Ready to refresh your vibe? The Elsa Kurt collection has everything from page-turning reads to eye-catching fashion, guaranteed to add a little sunshine to your season. But that's not all. Love a good book? Elsa's got your next favorite read waiting just for you. Don't miss Elsa's Amazon affiliate store, filled with hand-picked beauty treasures, home must-haves, and daily essentials. It's like a personal shopping spree made easy. Make this spring your season. Shop the Elsa Kurt collection today and let the fun begin.
So we usually end the show with a lighter note, something a little funny and stuff. But we're starting the show off tonight with that. This, to me, I find it amusing. Do you find it amusing?
Yeah, I should. It's not unexpected.
Right.
But if you go back, like I knew Fetterman as the lieutenant governor in Pennsylvania. When I was, when I lived there, and Pennsylvania is still one of those states where the second place vote getter governor is the lieutenant governor. Like it's almost like old school president, vice president, like the United States used to do. And he was a big dumb animal back then. Like, he was the same guy he is now, and the bowling shirts and the hoodies and the shorts and jeans and never dressed up and all of those things. And you remember, I am not a fan. He lost to he beat Dr. Oz for this congressional seat, which, Dr. Oz just, got put under Kennedy Jr., right? So he's looking for, HHS or whoever it is now. But, Fetterman had the stroke. He was stuttering. He had health problems and this and that. And the Democrats supported him.
Yeah.
Right. And he got
it was the most, here he is in his finest. It's probably actually one of his nicer sweatshirts that he's been seen. It's one of his more elegant looks that he's donned over time. Yeah. It was as baffling then, the support for this guy. And you know what? I'm going to take that back and say I actually wasn't baffling that they put him forward, because I think what they saw in him was a puppet. Like they're like, oh, this guy, he's just a big dumb lug, and we're just going to put him out front. We're going to tell him what to say, when to say it. We're going to use him as a scapegoat for things. Like I think they had a pretty big plan for him, and he's kind of thrown them. I think like they probably are sitting there, or were. I mean, this has been going on for a little while now. They're probably sitting there the first time he came out and said something, against the party line there. I think they all went, what? And
he so we've covered this multiple times along the way. He has always voted party line.
Yes.
Always. He has come out publicly and said things against the party, but when it came down to casting his ballot, he was always party line. Well, now I think he's starting to drift a little bit. And they've even co-opted his wife, who's a little bit crazy anyway. There's some issues with her along the way. But even she has come out and said, oh, he's very, very different. He's thinking, he's not thinking the same. He's not, maybe there's some difference in his personality. There was the issue a couple of weeks ago about him on a plane.
Yeah, I saw that.
Pittsburgh. Flight attendant said, put your seatbelt on. He basically refused to do it. Pilot came out of the cockpit and had to say something to him. And he basically said, hey, listen, if we crash, I'm going to die anyway. Seatbelt's not going to save me, that kind of thing. So, I think the party, in fear of another Joe Biden type incident, I
Right.
think that they have used his, the stroke that he had is, hiding behind his mental faculties or whatever. They're using that again with the President Biden thing to get him out. I think that is the goal. But I think you're right. It's because he's no longer following party policy.
Yeah. 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 I mean, he's, the stroke was what in like 2000, I don't know, it was like 2021, 22 maybe, right?
Yeah.
Ish.
Yeah,
But, just simply for the fact that it was a while ago. He says he's, has some long-term effects from it. He has been vocal about his mental health issues, some learning or processing issues. I think he, has some kind of prompter that he uses that I don't know, just like translates everything for him so that he can understand it. There's a lot to be said here. There's just so much to be said. And I'm struggling really hard to say it in a nice way. I mean, I'm not going to say that I think somebody who has mental handicaps, I guess we could say, should be barred from public service by any means. But it is interesting that somebody who has, admitted cognitive issues was even put in this position anyhow. So, and I think that goes back to what I said in the beginning there that, I think the expectations for him from his party was that, he was just going to be the dumb lug that sat there and, pretty much did whatever they told him. He has come out over the past, I don't know, year or two-ish and said some very smart, interesting things that were extremely surprising to all of us. So I think the only thing I'm surprised at is that it's taken them this long to start going, all right, we gotta, this one's gotta go. He's getting a little too vocal and saying the wrong things, that we don't want to hear. So that's my only surprise that it's taken as long as it has.
Well, I think part of it is my read is that they finally co-opted his wife. We had talked about President Biden and, Dr. Jill was such a power player in the White House, even through his mental decline, which that's a whole different topic. But similarly, I think they got her on board because she has publicly come out and made statements. And I think that's what it took. So, he's not following party policy. He's not following party line. I think they finally had enough of it. And now they're exploiting some of the things that they ran him on, which were, his, he's a different guy. He thinks independently, he this, he that, when he was just a Democrat, in a sweatshirt and a pair of basketball shorts. But cannibalism, I think, is, they're eating their own. And that's what this is. Like, you follow the lines, you follow the policies, you follow what we're doing, or we're getting rid of you. And, I'd have to go back and look at his recent voting record. He hadn't strayed on the ballot, but he had strayed publicly in what he was saying. So I don't know, maybe this was just, got to the point of, or they were tired of dealing with him, or they're striking at an opportunity, especially after the incident on the airplane. So either way, they're working hard to get rid of him.
Yeah. And I wonder what will happen, playing out the scenario that they manage, that they get rid of him, they oust him. What will he do? Will he switch sides, do you think? Or, I mean, I don't think he's going to fade off into oblivion.
Yeah. I don't know how much relevancy he'll have though afterward. But watch again, it very much and we've seen this in a couple of other places. Watch for a shift from Governor Shapiro to put himself in a congressional seat as part of his run for president. But either way, watch whoever it is from Pennsylvania that gets put in that seat. But it wouldn't surprise me if it was Shapiro himself, again, setting himself up for a presidential run in 2028. Right.
I think this is one of those things for the Democrat Party that if they don't succeed in getting rid of Fetterman, I think it bodes very badly for them as far as their level of control. Because, one of two things I think is going to happen with that party. They get rid of him, if they silence him, whatever their tactic is going to be, obviously it's going to be to attack his mental health and his, capabilities and just destroy his reputation and credibility. I don't know how much he had, but if they succeed in that, then their message succeeds to anyone else who wants to go against the grain and, not toe the line. It's the warning that don't do it. You do what we say to do, and that's that. Yeah. And then, the flip side of that is that if he goes entirely rogue, spills whatever beans he has on these people and this party, I don't know. They're playing a dangerous game here. I'm, again, it's one of those get your popcorn moments because it's going to be very curious to see how it plays out.
Yeah, he could be, like you said, rogue agent. He could, flip to an I instead of a D, an independent,
Right.
vote the way he feels. It'll be interesting to see the reaction, back in the Keystone State, PA. Yeah, this is a dangerous game, but I think it's strategic by the Democratic Party. And I think he is going to be a sacrificial lamb, or that's how they see him. We'll just have to see how it plays out.
Yeah, absolutely. And I want to echo what you said early on that, what he has said publicly and what he has voted are two very different things. And I think that's really important to emphasize because I saw, I posted kind of like a pre show teaser, for this with a caption and image and everything. And I did happen to quickly catch a couple comments in there that, somebody had said that they judged him wrongly, like they put him in a better light. And I would say be very careful with that line of thinking with him. Don't be deceived that this guy is, any friend to the conservative, viewpoint on things. He's definitely said some things that are favorable and intelligent. But yeah, don't go buying him a beer yet, guys.
Yeah, we've pointed that out probably a half a dozen times over the last couple of months, really, or the last year, really. But he is again, speaks well, makes some very bipartisan, very centrist kind of statements, but he's voted, on the blue team the whole time. So we'll see what happens. But we got bigger and better things, some international politics going on.
Yeah, we do. We do.
Yeah, President Trump on a 3-country tour right now. He Qatar, UAE, and Saudi Arabia.
Yes.
And, what do you think? Is it about economics? Is it about international relations? Is it a little bit of both? What's he doing?
Yeah, I mean, my guess would be a little bit of both. I mean, he's got the master plan. Just because we don't know fully what it is doesn't mean it's not there. Obviously, of course, the left has a problem with anything he does, and this would be no different. I certainly have no problem with. I get my, that mom anxiety when he does these big trips and everything, which is kind of absurd. I mean, he's literally the president of the United States, and this is what he has to do. And this is what he loves to do, all of this. So, I mean, I see only good things to come from this. Let's see, he secured $600 billion investment commitment with Saudi Arabia, and he's engaging with talks with Qatar and I can't see it because I didn't make that font big enough, Clay, UAE. He also met with Syria's new president. What else has he done? Paper notes this time, guys. I took it off the computer. No shame in my game. Let's see. And it's doing great things as far as I'm concerned. Do you see any holes in that? Any problems?
I think so. Yes, I think especially in that part of the world, economics and diplomacy go hand in hand, and economics is part of diplomacy. There's been conflict over us and our development of domestic oil, right? That worries the Saudis, Kuwaitis, the entire OPEC clan. So I think there's, he's over there on behalf of world, energy capabilities. So I think there's a lot of discussion going on with the oil, about oil with the OPEC and really Saudi Arabia being kind of the key to that. So that's definitely part of it. But you're right. He got massive economic, commitments from both Qatar and Saudi Arabia in the first couple of days of this. We're talking trillions of dollars of business. But you remember we lost under President Biden because they were asleep at the wheel. We had that agreement with them that only that oil only be OPEC oil would only be under the US dollar. Mm-hmm. We lost that agreement because
it was like one of those overnight deadline things if they didn't do anything, right? I remember that now that you're saying that.
Go, right. Mm-hmm. So now, damaging to the US dollar. So my guess is behind closed doors, President Trump is trying to reignite something like that, reestablish that type of agreement to make sure that that oil is traded or purchased only in US dollars, which will, help our economy. I do think as well, there's that OPEC oil, there's connectivity there between Saudi Arabia and China, and then China and Russia, right? We're going to talk tariffs later, but this is all connected. And then of course you've got, people are complaining about Qatar because they're, quote unquote, they back Hamas, which, they've hosted the peace talks. They've hosted a lot of things. Al Udeid Air Base is there. We've been operating out of the ports in Qatar for decades. They are a military ally. And again, it's a lot of this is economic. So we'll see what happens. UAE, I think, is going to be much the same. But I think this is all good stuff. We need for if nothing else, a strategic tie into the Middle East. We will always need, because that threat, the military threat, the threat to peace, around the world, but specifically, in the Middle East, we need ties in there because otherwise we're on the outs and we've got no inroads. So having these talks with those national level leaders is very, very important. I will say, and you touched on this, people are going to complain no matter what. I saw something this morning. President Trump was standing there and a line, or maybe it was from yesterday, a line of Saudi Arabian general officers from all of their services were coming up and they were saluting him. And he was standing up there and returning their salute. And there was this like, oh, he's violating U.S. military protocol. He's saluting these generals. He's being subservient to that. That's not anything about what that was. That was a common courtesy. He's not violating any protocols. They saluted him. He saluted back. That happens all the time, everywhere. So, but again, people are going to find things to complain about because that's what we do.
That's what we do. And let's face it, anything that Trump does is bad. He could be caught on video rescuing a baby from a burning building, and they would spin it into something god awful, right?
Oh, yeah.
It's just ridiculous because, and this is the part that always gets me with every single thing that Trump does that is actually positive and for the benefit of the country, which, by the way, that means us, the people of this country. And they'll still pick it apart and make it sound bad when we all know perfectly well, if it was Biden, if it was any other president, someone that they picked, meaning, they'd be applauding and falling over themselves to praise them and, nominate him for a Nobel Peace Prize and, all of the things, which, by the way, there's talk again of him getting a peace prize. So it better happen. That's all I can say. I think he has well earned it already at this point. So we'll see. We'll see what happens.
And in these trillions of dollars of business was commitment of Qatar to buy Boeing aircraft from the United States, right?
Yes.
That's in the I think it's $1.3 trillion. It might have been Saudi Arabia. It's one of the two countries, but they committed to buying Boeing aircraft. And that is huge, right? Boeing, an American company, jetliners, they could buy from Airbus and they could buy from other companies,
right.
But they're not. They're committed to buying from Boeing.
Mm-hmm.
And this gift that they have offered of a luxury aircraft as a stand-in for Air Force One,
right?
People are, again, like everything else, they are overreacting to this. One, this is not a gift to President Trump. Okay,
right.
Two, we have been on standby, and when I say we, I'm talking the nation and the Department of Defense for a new Air Force One that is behind schedule from Boeing, right?
Right.
So the Qatari
it was
said,
commissioned in 2018 or something, right?
Oh, yeah. So, his first administration.
So that's insane.
Yeah. So the Qatari said, listen, you've done a ton of stuff for us. And if you've never been in the Middle East and you don't understand the culture, this is 100% normal. It just happens to be on a grand scale because we're talking about an airplane.
Sure.
But they have the money. Like this is, again, nothing. So they offered this as a gift to fill in for Air Force One as it's behind schedule, et cetera. It is not a gift to President Trump. It's a gift to the Department of Defense. Lawyers are going to get involved. Is it legal? I would tell you it's probably not. I would tell you President Trump is also not making a big deal out of this.
Right.
He's lashing back at people who are making a big deal out of this, as he should.
Yeah.
But I think this is way, way overblown. It's an offer. There's been nothing given, nothing accepted. Everybody needs to chill out.
Yeah.
And that includes members of Congress on both sides of the aisle, because there are some Republicans who are freaking out about this too.
Right. Yeah. It's like anything else that goes on. If it's legal, do it. If it's not, fine, don't. It's okay. It's not the big deal that they want it to be, and it's not a bad thing if it is legal, if it doesn't break that, what is it, the Foreign Emoluments Clause? Is that what it is? I mean, I don't even know what it is. I just know that's what the name of it. But it forbids public office holders from accepting a present of any kind whatsoever from any king, prince, or foreign state. So that's what that's going to be their point. They're going to be like, well, you're accepting a gift, but it's that in between the lines there, maybe, or I don't know, it's pretty explicit. He's not supposed to accept a present, not the country, right? Not the Department of Defense. So if there's a loophole for it, if there's a needed loophole, I'm sure he'll find it. But he himself, he said, I've got his quote here. He said on Monday that the plane isn't a gift to him, like you said, but to the Department of Defense. He added that it will be decommissioned after his term for his presidential library, and that he will not use it after leaving office. So it's only going to be used during, his term.
And,
so it's not a gift. He's not taking it home and putting it in the Mar-a-Lago backyard. It's not going on the golf course, guys. Calm down.
And listen, foreign dignitaries visit embassies. They visit our Congress people, visit them when they go overseas. There are gifts given to the president, to the vice president, all the time. There are gifts exchanged. The reality is those gifts are under a certain dollar amount. And when I say under a certain dollar amount, I'm talking hundreds of dollars, not thousands of dollars. Mm-hmm. But mostly those gifts are given and accepted on behalf of the United States of America and not on behalf of that elected leader that we have. And they stay generally with the White House, with the, that congressman's office, that, all of those things, rugs and crystal and like all kinds of gifts are given back and forth, happens all the time.
Right. And listen, I'm not one to throw any shots, Clay. I'm not that kind of guy. It's not my thing to do it. But, sometimes you just have to throw a little bit of a shot here. By the way, I'm not suicidal. I love life.
Make that public. Yes.
Yes. Just stating that. I think you're supposed to put your hand up now to prove that you're not AI. It's a crazy world we live in. But anyhow, Hillary posted this. I think that was today. Yeah, there's the date on it, the 14th. So she posted, just in case you can't read it or you're listening and not watching. She posted on X that no one gives someone a $400 million jet for free without expecting anything in return. Be serious is what she posted. And then, of course, I posted a picture of her. Again, this is for the people who are listening, not watching. It's a picture of her, lowering her glasses or readers. And it says, we're doing irony now. So, yeah. Really, Hill?
Listen,
really?
Nobody goes to Epstein's Island without an expectation of a back rub from a 16-year-old girl.
Yeah.
So,
Boom.
yeah.
Drop that mic. Yeah.
And listen, it's just like money from the Ukrainians or the Chinese for President Biden. Listen, you can spin these things any way you want. There's accountability for that jet. That is not going to a Swiss bank account. That's not going to Trump's brother, Biden's brother. They're not. This is very, very public. Okay.
Yes.
This is not being hidden. And he hasn't accepted anything. No one has. So, she can sit back and keep her mouth shut. The Democratic Party doesn't even care about her anymore. She's just running her mouth because she's a crabby old lady. And that's really about the extent of that. So whatever. Yeah,
that sums it up perfectly. I love this next topic, Clay. You're excited to talk about this. Very interesting. I'm excited for you in a way because I know you said you're a non-practicing Catholic, but that's your origin story, right? So it's pretty cool that the new Pope is from your neck of the woods there.
Yeah. So yes, he is from the greater Chicagoland area. It was a huge surprise. An American Pope in general. Mm-hmm. There are generations of people older than me who have said they never expected to see an American Pope. And if you think in terms of political influence, there's a reason why. The view from within the Catholic Church has always been America has too much power as it is globally. Mm-hmm. There's no reason to give them a pope as well. So there was never an expectation for an American pope. Leo, as he is chosen to be named, his papal name, is from the Chicago area. I was blown away that day. Yeah. There has been 8 million Chicago area memes that probably most of America has seen bits and pieces of, but we've been knee deep in it.
Oh yeah.
He's already known as the Pope.
I love it.
Yeah, there's been cracks and jokes about deep dish pizza for communion. There's been, baptizing kids in au jus from beef sandwiches. Putting ketchup on a hot dog is now a mortal sin. And there's tons of Chicago cracks about him. Initial reports were he was a Cubs fan, including Wrigley Field put up on their marquee, which is, historic. You know, he was a Cubs fan. Turns out maybe that's in dispute. Maybe he's a Sox fan, which is a big deal here in the city. But you know, the bigger point is that he is an American Pope, and he is by reputation. So he's from the Augustine Rite, which means he is all about charity. He is all about selfless service, and that's what his order is, you know, kind of founded on. So. I think the expectations are going to be I think he's a little more traditional than his predecessor.
Right.
There's a lot of mixed messaging out there that people have pulled up on where he stands on, you know, homosexuals, on where he stands on abortion, where he stands on, you know, some of those things that have been, you know, kind of in controversy in the more progressive last few years under the previous Pope. But yeah, an American Pope, and he's a Chicago guy, and he speaks 4 languages fluently, and like I think
it's even more than that. Did I see that somebody said 7 languages? Is that possible? Maybe it is.
Oh, totally possible. I mean, you know, Latin's one, which is a dead language, but you know, when he addressed St. Augustine's, you know, square, you know, he spoke in fluent Italian and then Spanish. He was just he was a cardinal in Peru, so he's fluent in Spanish. I know that he obviously speaks English. I think French, I heard, I don't know what else, but I had heard five languages. It may be 7. It's entirely possible.
You know, I tell you, I actually think that the, conflicting stories, if you'll have it, are actually, I think it's kind of a good thing. You know, the left is saying the progressives are like, yay, we've got another woke, Pope, and the right is saying, no, actually you don't, because his views on abortion and LGBTQ marriage, blah, blah, all these things are showing conservative. The fact that he chose the name Leo, which is the last one that was a Leo, was conservative, so that he chose that. They're saying that's a sign, you know, all of these things. The vibe I'm actually getting from all of it, if you kind of put it all together, is that he actually sits somewhere in the middle. And I think that's a good thing. I think that's a healthy thing. And I think that's a good thing for the church. To me, that hopefully says he is going to do what he should be doing, which is going by the Bible. And that's it. Not culture, not politicians, not feelings, nothing but the Bible. And I think if he does that, I think, you know, he has the potential to be a very, very beloved Pope by many. And his brother was on Piers Morgan, and he had this to say, so we can watch this for a moment.
Well, as you know, he was very disappointed because he thinks that your brother is going to turn out to be a very liberal Pope, following on from Francis, who we had obviously a great relationship with. I mean, what's your response to that? Do you think he's going to be a very liberal Pope?
No, I do not. I don't think he's going to roll back the changes that Francis made. I think he's going to, here we are, let's continue down this path. Now, I don't see my brother when we were growing up. He wasn't like super political. He's not left, he's not right. He looks at the whole scene, takes information from both sides, and somehow finds a way to go down the middle and not ruffle too many feathers.
So, I mean, I think, you know, he's got by the way, the backstory on that moment at the very beginning, he was referencing somebody that was saying something. He was talking about Steve Bannon. Apparently, the Pope's brother and Steve Bannon were, I think, in the Navy together, like on the same ship and everything, I think. So they were. That's the reference point there. But you know, if what he said is accurate, I actually feel like that's a really good thing, and I'm definitely curious because I know this is one of those ones you're going to hear a lot about in the comment section, right? People have a lot of opinions about it. Anytime I've posted even the littlest thing about it, it's been, I wouldn't go so far as to say it's been explosive in there, but it's definitely been a lot of mixed feelings and opinions. You know, again, I'm Christian, not Catholic, so I don't, you know, really go by what the Catholic Church says and does, obviously. But you know, I'm hopeful for it. And listen, I don't really care as long as you're bringing people to Christ. That's a beautiful thing as far as I'm concerned. So it'll be really interesting to watch. I'm hopeful.
Yeah, it'll be. You know, he turns 70 in September, so he is young as far as a pope goes. I mean, we have the potential for a 10, 12, 15 year papacy. You know, which would be interesting. So that's one thing. You know, you can judge things by how the media reacts. There was an immediate backlash, and you want to talk about whiplash. So everybody's one of, you know, the top 5 favorite idiots on TV, Sonny Hostin from The View. lashed out initially that he was too conservative and he was this and he was that, and she wasn't in favor of him. And then the very next day, some information came out that his mother is of Hispanic Latin heritage, and they trace back that he is his mother's family, or family on his mother's side, is Haitian, and that he actually has some African, roots.
Wow.
Roots. And then all of a sudden she was very happy.
Now he's okay. Now he's all right. Yeah.
Right. So you talk about the flash from that. Yeah, I mean, people are going to make what they want out of it. It'll be interesting, but probably the most, the thing that struck me the most in all of the coverage, and I was watching when the smoke rose, I was watching when they named him, but one of the commentators that I was watching, he quoted Pope John Paul II, who was, many people will say he was the last great pope, but he said that Pope John Paul was quoted as saying that being the Pope changes you. The man you are when you take over is certainly not the man you are at the end. So there's going to be room and expected change and growth in the Pope over his term. So what we have now is not probably what we're going to have 10 years from now. So he's a human being. He's the most holy, the most regarded at this point in the Catholic faith. So, but he is still a man, no matter what. And we'll see how it turns out. And
he's got a heck of a task ahead of him, because I think he's coming to a very divided church. Very, very divided, and he's got a heck of a task ahead of him to try and unite those factions and balance those lines. His brother said in that interview that he doesn't believe that his brother is going to walk back anything that the previous pope has said, which makes sense in that, they're trying to probably keep some uniformity there so that they don't have mixed messages, so maybe whatever he's going to do is more of a gradual, subtle shift. I don't know. Like you said, we're going to have to wait and see and watch and see where it goes.
Yeah, 4 billion Catholics, they'll let you know.
They will definitely let everyone know for sure. I would only say, come on, guys, give him a chance, give him a hot minute, and let's put our big boy and big girl pants on and be less quick to react. Take in the totality of everything, because I've seen the things, because the first thing, obviously, every time you talk about the Catholic Church, one of the first thing that always comes up is the abuse within the churches and all that stuff. So it's always like the go-to. So there were some rumors about that, not about him specifically, guys, just about, potentially having looked the other way for something that went on. I do not know. I don't have that full story. I just know that was one of the things that was thrown out there amongst all of the rest of everything. And that's what happens, right? I mean, we know this, as well, if not better than anyone else. The minute you have whatever the story is, whatever the news story is, you get, we all get inundated super fast with lightning fast reports and sources. And we know very well that so much of what gets thrown on the internet is just simply not true. So you got to wade through it. I'm not saying these things are not true. I'm saying you really need to do your research and your own investigative, just like you have to be an advocate for yourself when you go to the doctor. You got to be an advocate for yourself when you're reading and watching anything, and now more so than ever. So that's my request to everyone. Take a pause, look it up, multiple sources, find out the truth. It's in there somewhere, guys.
and God bless him.
Yeah. Absolutely. What do we got next? We got to keep moving. Look at me cracking the whip. What? Well, let's talk about this. Oh my goodness. So I do have a video for this. Now let's see. And I thought I put it in here, but so you saw all this, obviously you watched the
so there were two incidences. There was the forced entry by the members of Congress, right? And then the following day, there was a religious organization from New Jersey, which evidently is well known, who locked arms in front of the gate. They wouldn't allow vehicles in or out because really what the speculation from the prison staff was, if they opened the gates to allow the vehicles in or out, this group was going to rush the gates and they were going to be inside the prison before they could do anything. So like there was an ambulance that got turned away, but they don't know of anybody even calling an ambulance. So they think that was a bit of a setup. And there are some other things, but really what we're focusing on is this demand by Congress people for entry into the ICE facility. Did you find your video?
Yeah, I have it. It's the second one, so not as good as the first one, but here it is. Yeah, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, they're so obnoxious. They're so obnoxious.
Those were people trying to go home.
Yeah.
Like,
Like, let them go home. Get out
oh,
of the way.
Lord.
Oh, listen, we all need to pray for Elsa right now that I never am the person that gets caught in one of these, road blocking protests. Pray hard. I am not that one. I am from the south side of the kingdom. And I cannot be responsible for what I do because that makes my blood boil. Like, you want to protest, you want to march around with your signs.
Get on the sidewalk.
I am fully supportive of your right to do that. 100%. Do not get in my way. That's it. So yeah, and I know I'm speaking for a lot of people when I say that. So yeah.
The bigger issue though is the members of Congress that the day before this,
yes,
looked at the prison staff and said, you will let us in. We have a right to be. No, you don't.
No, you absolutely do not. The absolute audacity and arrogance to, first of all, to behave like that. Now you're putting, law enforcement, you're putting them at risk.
Yep.
And I have a problem with that immediately. I have a major problem with that. You get the hell out of the way. Do not get yourself in the way of, what they're trying to do and put them in danger. Who was it? The Newark mayor? What's his name? Raz Baraka? Is that it?
Got arrested.
Got himself arrested.
Yep.
For and they're proud of this. They think this is like, a badge of courage and a badge of honor to get arrested doing these things. And I think anyone who sits there and deludes themselves into thinking that this is a noble, righteous thing that they're doing, that they're, just being great people, humanitarians, they're not. It's theater. It is political theater. It is absolute showboating and look at me crap. They don't care. This is about them and getting themselves in front of you. It's amazing how there's always camera crews and all of these things right there with them, the minute these things are going on. Why? Because they bring them, they call them, they do all of the things. It's theater, nothing more. I can't stand them, Clay.
So I have a bit of an alternate solution.
Okay.
When I was in Iraq in 2008 and 9, they were going through the Iraqi prisons, and we had a red, amber, or a green, amber, red list, right? Guys who were in the prisons who were listed as green were, petty crime kind of things. The amber ones were more violent criminals, and then the red ones were, domestic terror, blah, blah, blah. So they were, every month we would do a release of sorts of each of these, we would work through the green, and, the Iraqis would do it. We would just kind of oversee it. We'd work through the green list. And then we got rid of all the green, we moved to the amber and so on and so forth. Every one of those prisoners got released to a family member. A family member had to sign for them. And so the name was taken not only of the prisoner, but of the family member. Mm-hmm. And if that prisoner got arrested again as a repeat offender, the family member was held accountable as well. That family member went to jail. So here's what I propose. All of these politicians, right? All of these left-leaning or straight up left, blue side, Democrat politicians, go sign for a prisoner.
Go vouch for him.
Take responsibility for them. They don't even have to live in your house.
Right. No, you're just, it's like if you co-signed a car loan, right?
That's exactly right. That's exactly what you're doing, is you're co-signing that they are going to be good human beings forever. And watch how many of them won't do it.
Absolutely. Absolutely. These are same people, Yes, I think that is the best idea. And I'm not just saying that because you're my buddy, my pal. That is like the best idea that I have heard in a long time. And there, right there, folks, is the difference between the left and the right. The right is always offering solutions.
It's a
right?
solution.
We're not just talking about problems. We've got solutions for you. This needs to go right to the White House desk, because I think that is the absolute most brilliant thing that I've heard in a while.
Again, you don't have to house them. You don't have to feed them.
Nope.
Now it's in your best interest to take care of them, make sure they have a place to stay, that they have a job, that they're contributing to society, because therefore they're less likely to be a criminal. But you take responsibility for them.
Yeah.
Forever.
Yep.
Yeah.
Forever.
Nobody's signing up for that.
No, you won't get a single one. You'll get somebody.
Way.
You'll maybe get one Looney Tune, who does it, who's got to prove her point.
Yep.
Notice I said her.
Yeah, it's high probability. Yep.
Listen, I love my gender. I love us. I do, but yeah, that's all I'll say on that. But yeah, I would love to see that happen. It would change everything in a second. All of a sudden, you know what we'd hear, guys? We would hear crickets.
That's right.
The beautiful sound of crickets in the night sky. Oh, that would be so good. But you listen, speaking of, something along the same lines, right? So, oh my.
Yeah. The interesting part of all this, you and I have talked about this. Your husband's a police officer. We've been talking about MS-13 and TDA for months. And obviously, again, we even just talked about it in the last segment. What is arising out of this is competitive, not just MS-13 versus TDA, right? You've got both of those criminal organizations are fracturing.
Yep.
Right. And multiplying. So now you've got, there's actually a group being labeled as the anti-TDA. Now, on the surface, you go, oh, they must be a bunch of great Nicaraguans or Venezuelans. No, they're not. They're actually
they're not upstanding citizens. What?
The only way you break away from an organization like that is to be crazier than the organization as it stands. So they are an ultra violent faction, breakaway faction of TDA. So you've got that. And when you can't fight over turf every day, and for those of us that are old enough to remember Crips and Bloods in the 80s,
oh yes,
LA, like that was daily TV coverage, right? There were kids dying in, South Central by the hour. I mean, it was crazy how bad that was.
Right.
And that's what we're starting to get. So you've got turf wars that are emerging from this between MS-13 and TDA and by the splinter factions. And when they can't fight those turf wars, then they go to other places. They're branching out into rural America now, right? And taking up, which if you get into the rural Midwest, there's going to be some fighting back. But that's what they're doing, right? The city's crowded. You've got enough competition. So now they're spanning out. And these are when people have been defending these organizations like, oh, well, there's not that many of them. Oh, it's not that big. Oh, it's only a few hundred, or it's only a few thousand spread across the whole United States. This is what you get. You get expansion is what you get.
Yeah, absolutely. As I was researching, so what I do when I research each topic, and I'm sure you do the same thing, I want obviously a fully rounded view of what everybody's saying. So I'm not just looking at right-leaning news sources. I'm looking at the left too. One of them being NPR was one of the ones that I looked at to see what they were saying about this. And, exactly what you just said, Clay, like, oh, they're making such a big deal of this. It's really not that big of a deal. There's not so many of them. The Trump administration is trying to make it sound like this is some kind of big epidemic and blah, blah, blah. And it reminded me instantly of the interview with JD Vance, and it was probably Margaret, where she, again, tried to downplay it. Well, it was just one apartment building that they took over. It's not that big of a deal. And he was like, excuse me, hold on. Yes, it is. These are American citizens being terrified, threatened, harmed, killed because their apartment building is being taken over by illegal alien gang members. And you don't think that's a problem because it's just a small amount of Americans? Like, you people are out of your skulls to think that there is even a fraction of a percent that makes this okay. So, yeah.
And oh, by the way, like U.S. pre-existing gangs, Crips and Bloods and Latin Kings and all, they haven't gone away.
No.
And now you've got even more. So they're either being co-opted by MS-13 TDA, or you've got turf war, right? So again, increase in violence, not just against people, but against each other, which again, you get a lot of innocent people get caught in the middle. And so you could say it's only 1,000, but if it's 1,000 and they're fighting for turf in Los Angeles or Chicago or New York or Miami or wherever else, there's bloodshed. Like that's the way it's going to be. So accepting any of it,
is insane. And you know, here's the irony of it, the disgusting irony of it. You know why they don't care? Meaning they mean the left. And no, guys, I will not stop harping on who's doing what here, and who's saying what, who's supporting what. So yeah, you're going to hear the left from me on a regular basis for hopefully not forever, but long enough, I guess. You know, it's not affecting them because their deep down attitude is, it's just the inner cities. It's just those people. We don't care about them. You know, wait till it gets in your little suburb. You know, like you said, now they're going rural. Now they're expanding out. They're going to be in your neighborhood. You okay with that? Yeah.
Well, and you know, slipping into the next topic, this is what happens when you ignore or, you know, contribute to a problem. So now Governor Newsom in California has decided that all statewide, that all the homeless encampments need to go. Period. Every city, and you remember he used to be San Francisco mayor.
Oh, yeah.
LA, San Francisco, San Diego, all of them. They all need to get torn down, right? They all these people need to be arrested. If they refuse shelter 3 times, they need to go to jail. Like, and he is going to, and he's harping on these mayors because he has given them funding for programs that are supposed to eliminate or reduce homelessness, and they're not spending it the way that it's supposed to be, or it's ineffective. So the solution is tear them all down. But you know, you were talking about doing research. I did not realize this. Research in this topic. So California's homeless number is about 187,000 people, which is 1/4 of the entire United States homeless population.
Wow.
One state, right? And listen, my best friend picked up lock, stock, and barrel, moved out of LA for this exact reason. They were on his doorstep, literally right outside his neighborhood. But if you drive through Southern California, the highway underpasses, the highway overpasses, the medians, you'll look in large medians in the highways. There's camps everywhere. And it's not safe. But Gavin Newsom, who contributed to this problem, has now declared war on this problem.
Yeah. Well, look, he's cleaning it up all by himself too. In his designer t-shirt that probably cost, I don't know, what would you guess this t-shirt cost? 80, 100 maybe?
Much money.
Yeah. You know, he's taking this seriously, guys.
Why is he taking it seriously?
Yeah. Why, guys? Why do you think he's taking it seriously? We all know why. Because exactly. It's just so cliche. It's so typical, so expected. Like, can you just not do the most predictable things ever? You know, and this guy, and I looked up, you know, as part of this research, I got curious and kind of expanded it even more in my search. And I actually popped it into Chat GPT. And my question to it was, hang on, I think I have it over here. My question was, has Gavin Newsom actually done anything good for his state? Like, has he accomplished anything whatsoever that is positive and good for the betterment of the state? And the short answer to that is no. Nope, not a single thing. And it's wild. And we'll have to go through it. We'll have to take this as his profile gets even higher and higher as we get closer, as he starts. So I think we're going to have to do like a whole Gavin Newsom episode so we can just go down the complete list of everything that this guy has done and tried to do and failed at. So, I mean, he is an extreme failure at what he claims to want to do for this state. And
the banner at the bottom is key. This is a blame shift, right?
Yeah.
He's a contributor to this, has been for a long time. And now he's pinning it on all the mayors.
Right.
And he's saying, this is your fault. You've been given the funds. You're not the programs, you're not endorsing them. You're not funding them. You're not running them. You're not whatever. It's being ineffective. We've got more homeless people. So therefore, I am encouraging all of you, before I have to turn it into law, I'm encouraging all of you to get rid of all the homeless camps.
Right.
So,
and, and I'm sorry.
No, it's just him showboating. That's all it is.
100%. What a surprise, right? But it begs like the biggest question of all so what are you going to do with them? What'd you say? 187,000 homeless people. Where are they going to go? Like, how are you going to fix this? And again, they are wholly unprepared for this. The number of shelters that they have with the capacity that they have, they are completely unable to house the number of people that they are displacing. Go ahead.
I have an idea. You know all those shelters that are full of illegal aliens?
Yeah. Oh, what?
If you deport them, you can probably fit 187,000 people into those shelters and therefore take care of your homeless problem. Just saying.
Well, what a novel idea. I
Just
mean,
saying.
yeah. Clay, you're full of like the brilliant ideas today. Not
Now,
that you
I'm a
never,
simple
not
guy.
that you never have brilliant ideas.
I'm
But
a simple guy. It's a simple answer.
I love that. Like simple, practical solutions that make sense, which you know what that means though. Ain't gonna happen. Not a blue
No
sky.
way. Yeah,
Ain't gonna happen. Too logical, too practical, too easy, right?
yeah.
Oh,
You know what's not been in the news?
what
You know
has not?
That the benefits of the reduced tariffs with China.
Funny how they don't want to talk about that. It's weird that they don't want to talk about that, right?
Yeah.
I
Talked
mean,
about it for weeks and weeks and weeks and weeks and weeks, and then when the Chinese went, "Yeah, this ain't going to work," and we
right.
went, "All right," and
That was the media.
Yeah, so we went
Yeah.
from us charging them 145%,
Mm-hmm.
to charging them 30%. They
Yep.
were charging us 125%, reduced down to 10%. Right?
Yeah.
This was the whole idea behind the tariffs, folks,
Mm-hmm.
was to reduce so the U.S. wasn't getting taken advantage of.
Right.
But here's the curveball that I'm going to throw everybody.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Everybody again thinks this is purely economic. I would tell you, I'm willing to bet that President Trump is driving a wedge between China and Russia. There is something going on there that he is, because they are allied. There's no question about it, and that is that alliance is the greatest threat to the United States, is the two of them. And he is, through this, driving a wedge between the two of them.
Yeah.
It will turn into a, hey, you're either with Putin or you're with us. Take your pick. You've seen the economic impact, so you figure out what you're going to do. But I can promise you, this is leading down that road. President Trump is no idiot, right?
No.
It's not all about the dollar. This is about global alliance that is anchored in economics.
Yeah. Yeah, I think President Trump is a master chess player. I think he already has the game all laid out in one before other people have even made their moves. You know what I mean? And I think that is his biggest strength, that he can see so much. Don't forget, and we talked about this before, President Trump was talking about these things more than a decade ago.
Oh, yeah.
This has been on his mind, part of his, I don't know if plan is the right word, but certainly part of his thought process and understanding. And it probably has driven him crazy for all of these years to essentially have the solution to the problem and not be able to make it happen, to implement it. And, now he's in the position to actually move all of those chess pieces into the places that they need to go, that he's already planned this out forever and a day. So yeah, and I'm so glad that I happen to be one of the many, many, many people who, when this all started, just sat back and put my hands behind my head and kicked my feet up and said, I'm just going to watch it play out. Just going to see where this goes. And none of this is a surprise to me. And I don't even understand a quarter of it, but none of it's a surprise to me.
but we said it 2 weeks ago. It's patience, right?
Right.
He knows what he's doing. You've got to let it play out.
Mm-hmm.
At 100 days in office, it was too early to tell anything.
Right.
But of course, like everything else,
Mm-hmm.
we made this agreement. Everybody freaked out, right?
Yep.
And he's getting criticized for it. Everybody said, oh, well, businesses made some economic decisions, some purchasing decisions, some shipping decisions based on the cost of the tariffs. And now they've got to go back and they've got to redo, and they did this and they did that and blah, 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 blah. And he did this. He capitulated. This was never the plan. And he caved and blah, blah. No, he knew exactly what he was doing from Jump Street, right? And it worked out exactly the way he wanted. We're tariffing them more than they're tariffing us. And how long did it last? Really?
Yeah, like a hot minute.
3 weeks,
right?
6 weeks max, right? This is not, what everybody thought it was going to be, but it was exactly what President Trump thought it was going to be.
Yeah, he knows the scrutiny he's under. He knows that he can't misstep, basically. So he is thinking out everything so far ahead. I think he is surrounded by some of the greatest minds on the planet. And, because it's not just him alone, obviously.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously, he's assembled one hell of a team around him this go around. He is not a man who doesn't learn from his mistakes. That first term, he trusted the wrong people.
Yep.
That is not the case now. And now we just got to work on those Republicans that are not doing what we need them to do, what we want them to do. Right. That's a whole other episode. And we don't have time for that. But
no, we don't. But I will tell you that the difference between President Trump and every president since President Reagan, and this is where he is very much like President Reagan, is that he sees it, like you said, he sees all the moves on the chessboard. Mm-hmm. He knows how it's going to play out, but he knows that it's going to take courage to make certain moves. He knows that it's going to take, really some resolve to withstand the pressure from everybody around him, including the media.
Right.
And he does it. Every other president between Reagan and now, including President Trump in his first term, to be honest with you, they have all been reluctant to make bold moves. Yeah. And I think in this term, because he knows that he's 4 and out, and I know he knows that he's got stuff he wants to get done. Yeah. And this, and I think he is really kind of even taking the reins off himself, and he's making the bold moves, and they're working out exactly the way that he knows that they will. So and this is just more evidence. So good on him. Well done.
Yes, absolutely. He has been hard charging from the get-go, from day one, since before day one, but officially from day one, it's been hard charging the whole time. And I think we are going to see the benefits of this for a long time to come. And I hope that it's only going to keep getting better and better. And I'm definitely enjoying the ride for sure. I don't want to brag, but we just did, was it 7 or 8? We just did 8 topics in an hour. And I'm feeling pretty pleased with ourselves here. Yeah. And, and the crazy thing is, like, that's 8 topics out of like 100 we could have gone with, right? There's so many things going on right now. I don't even know, to be honest with you guys, and with you, Clay, I don't even know if I want to cover this. The Diddy trial is going on right now. And
gross.
It's so gross. I think they're only in day 2. It's so vile already that, to be honest with you, I don't know if we're going to do anything more than do like a very brief recap of anything that's relevant, but it's really gross.
Yeah. When he gets convicted, we'll talk about it. Other than that, I don't really.
I like that. That's a good idea. Yeah. I mean, it's so disturbing. Yeah. So forget about that noise. Any news, anything exciting you want to share? Anything going on at all?
No. I got a little public speaking engagement coming the end of this week. I'm going to talk to UAW, which is kind of cool. But I think probably the coolest thing that's going on this week is Pete Rose and Shoeless Joe Jackson had their lifetime bans lifted, which is higher probability that they should deservingly get into the Hall of Fame. So that was nice to hear. I did see that. I was like, oh wow, I didn't even know that was going on behind the scenes there, or maybe not behind the scenes, but very cool. That's awesome. Yeah, wonderful stuff. I know people will be against that, but I'm a Pete Rose fan. I think he deserves it. Unfortunately, he's passed away and he's not going to get to enjoy it. But it is what it is. So other than that, no. How about you?
Oh, let's see what's going on. Humble brag for a moment there. My newly released book, Truth Bombs and Grace Grenades, debuted at #1 in 2 categories on the Amazon bestsellers. So thank you guys for downloading and buying the book. I so appreciate it so much. It is such it's so humbling, Clay, to know that something you put out in the world that you feel so passionately about, other people feel passionate about it too. And then that word, which is not my word, it's obviously very Christian centered, that it may potentially help other people. And that is such a joy maker. So I'm so grateful for that. So thank you guys so much. But that was my big news. Otherwise, everything is nice and peaceful right now.
Excellent. Well, as a fellow author, congratulations. I know that is not an easy thing to do. And it's quite a benchmark that will stick with your work through its lifespan. So that's pretty awesome.
Yay! All right, my friend, you can take them out here. Sounded very mafia. Oh. I take that back, didn't it? When I said that, don't take them out.
Timestamp. We recorded this from 4:30 to 5:30 Eastern time on Wednesday. Sorry, it's a late timestamp. We're out of practice. But as always for me, folks, keep moving, keep shooting.
Take care, guys.
Warrior, leader, author, patriot. From ranger school to the battlefield, from the front lines of combat to the front lines of culture, retired Lieutenant Colonel Clay Novak isn't done fighting for truth. Catch him on the Elsa Kurt Show and read his no-holds-barred blog at claynovakauthor.com. Keep moving, keep shooting.
If you've ever looked around and thought, this isn't normal and it sure isn't biblical, you're not alone. And guess what? You're not crazy, you're discerning. That's why I wrote Truth Bombs and Grace Grenades, a bold, unapologetic book for believers who are done being silent while the world screams lies. From gender confusion to political idolatry, from woke theology to spiritual apathy, we're hitting it all straight on, straight up, and backed by scripture. This isn't a rage-fueled rant. It's a rally cry, a wake-up call to stop apologizing and start boldly living out the gospel. Whether you're a new believer or a disillusioned disciple trying to find your footing again, this book is for you. It's packed with truth bombs, grace-filled strategies, and practical tools to help you speak truth with love, raise warriors, not worriers, dismantle lies with biblical clarity, and rebuild with grit, grace, and gospel power. Culture doesn't need more compromise. It needs courageous Christians. So if you're ready to push back against the chaos with bold faith and real truth, grab your copy of Truth Bombs and Grace Grenades on May 6, 2025. Let's shake things up with truth and grace. Truth Bombs and Grace Grenades.